She's enjoying her life, eating at 5-star hotels, versus me, stuck in my daily dilemma of choosing between GoFood discount coupons. Wait, when is it my turn to become rich? Oh, too bad. I didn't get invited to her birthday party. Whoa, he's only 15? What am I even doing here? Welcome to the internal monologue of a typical social media scroll. A monologue that I personally have been experiencing every day. And I'm pretty sure that most of us here, teenagers, have been experiencing this as well, thanks to the pandemic, I guess. Good morning, Mr. Yan, Ms. Luis, parents, and my fellow friends. My name is Sharon, Gwyneth, Susanto, and I'm going to talk about the truth, whether the excessive use of social media is affecting the teenagers' mental health. What has TikTok been doing to you and me, and how we can practice better experiences online. But before we going on further, let's take a bit of a flashback. Hashtag stay at home. Yes, the pandemic. For 3 years straight, we are forced to limit our face-to-face interactions, which makes it stressful for us humans as social beings. Shout out to the extroverts out there. I know that you've been struggling throughout the pandemic. But personally, me as an introvert, I didn't see this as a problem since staying at home is just like my comfort place. And social media provides this alternative solution to us for us to interact in various ways without going out of your house. Imagine, without social media, I'm sure that our mental health would have gotten worse. Some people might even die not because of COVID, but because of the stress. Well, thanks to social media, we eventually survived and somehow it wasn't that bad. However, right now, it's so often thought that social media has been linked to as a horrible thing. But some also argue that it might be delightful at the same time. So, as youths are the future faces of our country, this raises up to my concern. Is the excessive engagement to social media, primarily TikTok, affecting the mental well-being of teenagers in Surabaya? Now, why is this issue essential, and why TikTok out of all social media platforms? TikTok was the fastest growing app during the pandemic. As you can see from the data above, there are approximately 106.9 million TikTok users in Indonesia, which are dominated by teenagers. The graph above also shows that there has been a steep increase in 2020 up to 2022. Doom scrolling was just what me and my friends did 24/7. Like there were no breaks at all, since TikTok constantly gives us that dopamine for us to keep on continue on scrolling down. These comments right there just represented what I felt about TikTok. And this expost right here just got 100K likes, meaning that 100K people, including myself, can relate to this. I noticed that scrolling through social media, especially through TikTok, was fun, until it hurted my mental health a bit. Seeing influencers and other people's posts that are just unrealistically perfect. It made me compare to my situation with theirs, which are completely different. It also low-key made me feel insecure. Then I started to think to myself, am I using TikTok excessively? But I immediately found out that I was not alone. Unnoticeably, TikTok has influenced teenagers' perceptions on how they perceive the world and themselves. Research found out that there has been an increase in anxiety and depression among teenagers during the pandemic, and therefore it is essential to know the why and how regarding this matter. So, defining the word excessive, it is a repeatedly engagement in online activities that may lead to addiction. And based to all Fun is theory, excessive should be measured by both quantity and quality of time spent on TikTok. Ironically, mental health issues in Indonesia have not been prioritized compared to infectious diseases, as stated by Rafi and Ritu. So, to assess this matter, a survey of 60 respondents is being conducted through Google Form, and also a qualitative research of interviews with 2 experts, both internal, who is Ms. Catherine as the great mentor, and external, who is Ms. Zaza as the student counselor of other schools. So it is summarized that there are 3 psychological stressors of social media in this world. One is social validation. Teenagers nowadays value themselves based on what other people say about them, meaning that their feelings are not valid unless there are some people who approve their success or maybe their achievements. It is mainly because of social media. As social media has dislikes, shares, comments, they have become this attribute to value something. Moreover, in social media, we are the product, meaning that we are putting others to attribute value to us. This is why there has been a shift of perception among teenagers that they are linking their self-worth based on what others think about them. In fact, based on my findings, teenagers who have lower self-esteem tend to seek more of other people's validation and spend more time on TikTok with lower quality. And most of the time, people who have low self-esteem tend to do social comparisons as well. This brings us to the second psychological stressors, which is social comparison. As TikTok acts as people's personal highlight reel, it is where we put up our wins, or when we look great, or when we are out with our family and friends. Some teenagers might find it fun. Well, they are able to see other people's lives that are just perfect. But many also struggle with insecurities that they are comparing their behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. Yes, this happened before on TVs, but now it's happening all the time and it's directly linked to you. Peer pressure also plays an important role in the use of excessiveness in TikTok. Social pressure may cause social anxiety from the fear of missing out of potential events or opportunities to teenagers. In fact, most teenagers who experience these stressors use TikTok as an act of coping mechanism to release their stress, anxiety, and insecurities. Other teenagers, on the other hand, also use TikTok as a form of distraction to avoid their boredom. As teenagers are exposed to these stressors, their mental health becomes vulnerable. The data above presented aligns with the hypothesis that teenagers who spend more time on TikTok tend to have lower mental health. And spending lower quality on TikTok also results in lower mental health. Now, why do we need to consider both quantity and quality to identify the term excessiveness? It is simply because teenagers who spend more duration on TikTok don't always experience bad quality on TikTok. And conversely, teenagers who spend lower duration on TikTok don't always experience the best. This is actually their quality on their time spent on TikTok depends on their FYP and the contents they consume. So therefore, if your TikTok is filled with drama, toxicity, or maybe things that make you feel bad about yourself, then naturally you're going to view the world and yourself as a bad thing. And whereas if your TikTok is filled with positivity or things that aligns with your goals, you'll see the world as a more of a positive place. So, what I can conclude is that social media can be good and can be bad as well. It depends on how the users navigate and use it that matters. But speaking of excessively, is the excessive use of TikTok affecting the mental health of teenagers in Surabaya? I can say that yes, we can generalize that if teenagers are using the TikTok excessively, then it affects teenagers' mental health negatively. Hence, it is crucial for teenagers to have good self-control, to apply good coping mechanisms, and parents also can take part as well in instilling teenagers to instill proper values to them about their self-worth. Now, to raise teenagers' awareness regarding this matter, a campaign which includes interactive booths and through the collaboration of private schools in Surabaya may be a primary way to provide practical tips and strategies regarding the social media usage. As we conclude the day, I would like to close my closing statement with a quote. It's either you control social media or social media controls you. Take a moment to reflect on your online habits. Let's empower ourselves to navigate the digital world wisely. Thank you.